Okay, so I think I might actually agree here with Trinity Radio in his latest video called Do You Want to Convince an Atheist? Try this.
This is not meant to be an exercise in virtue signaling or an opportunity to impress with empty platitudes. It's a call to a specific form of Christian defense. It's not about formal arguments.
The argument is a simple syllogism. Premise one.
Science or historical evidence. It's the proclamation and defense of Christianity in a way that is more sophisticated and daunting for some who try to learn it. It's present in the most well-known Bible verse related to Christian apologetics, but it is often forgotten.
Okay, so he's got this first little scripture quote here with 1 Peter 3:15, which is a fairly common thing that I've even seen non-believers throw at Christians. But he's got some parts highlighted here of sanctify Christ as Lord in your hearts, and then gentleness and reverence. So I think he's kind of going with the practice what you preach. If you're going to preach or talk about a God that's loving and cares about other people, you should probably reflect those qualities too in your conversations and actually care about the people you're talking to and treat them like you would want to be treated, or treat them as they would want to be treated, the golden or platinum rule.
It is the call to exist as a living defense of the faith in the way we interact with unbelievers. And if you have the tendency to click away from this video because it isn't some new argument, response to a skeptic, or debate tactic, I'm talking to you.
Here, he's clearly laid out the target audience that he's going for with this video. He's talking to people who are really only just looking for the next argument or the next tactic or the next angle to take when arguing with people. He's wanting people to be the better person, to live the defense. Practice what you preach is what he's saying again here. And I do see this a lot. A lot of online discussions end up being people talking past each other and straw manning each other versus steel manning. And I think that's a good thing that we could do more of, is steel man. Try the best you can to understand what the other person's saying. Make the most charitable interpretation of what they're saying. Don't try and weaken their argument or misunderstand it or assume that they're trying to make a point just because you may have heard somebody else use similar phrases or similar words or even the name of the argument. They might not understand it the same way that you do, and trying to get to the root of it and understand what they're actually trying to say is super important.
On February 6, 2018, Barna Research Group reported the results of a study of Gen Z individuals and their impressions on Christianity and the church. It revealed, quote, one of the main findings from the study is that the problem of evil is a major barrier to faith for non-Christian teens, 29%. Other reasons non-believers provide as common barriers to faith include Christians are hypocrites, 23%. I believe science refutes too much of the Bible, 20%. I don't believe in fairy tales, 19%. There are too many injustices in the history of Christianity, 15%. I used to go to church, but it's just not important to me anymore, 12%. I had a bad experience at church with a Christian, 6%. Three of these issues are the sorts of things Christians interested in apologetics are used to dealing with. We love to answer those questions. They're important ones and do require a defense. But two, and perhaps three of these items reveal that for Gen Z, the way professing believers behave is a major, quote, barrier to faith.
And then he gives us this kind of interesting study they did on Gen Z people with the problems that they find, or the reasons, I guess, that they leave Christianity. And he highlights first three of problem of evil, science refutes the Bible claims, and fairy tales, or I don't believe in fairy tales, as he puts it. And so I agree to some extent that he, with his assessment that apologists do kind of focus on those things. They're more worried about like why or the reasons, the arguments that people give for leaving, or the reasons that they don't believe what they're being told anymore in Christianity or what they've been taught in Christianity. But he also highlights the other part of it, or the other aspect that this study found, of the Christian behavior, almost the hypocritical Christians, unjust Christian history. Christianity just isn't that important to some Gen Z, and they've had a bad experience with Christian or in the church or whatever the case might have been. And I do think I can agree with him that that can be a problem, and I want to address it kind of with the behavior of a Christian dealing with somebody struggling with doubt, spinning doubt as a negative thing, or you gotta quash your doubts, or there's always going to be an answer to it, and jumping right into what are you doubting, what's the problem that you have, and then trying to go with the classic arguments or the information that is out there already. A lot of people that are leaving probably have already heard those, not all of them, but a lot of them have heard those and are probably unsatisfied with the answers they already have. And I would wholeheartedly agree that we need to address or get to the bottom of what they're actually having an issue with. If it is really a problem with the Christians versus the information or the facts or the truthfulness of Christianity, that needs to be addressed too. And the way you go about addressing their doubts or how you handle them can have a huge impact. And I think doing your best, again, to steelman or to understand what the other person is actually, where they're coming from, what the point they're actually trying to make is, what are they actually articulating that their problem is, or what they're actually doubting, is going to be super important to having conversations that are productive and not just people talking past each other.
This means that being a successful apologist requires more than what is typically thought of as apologetics. And that you're doing apologetics online rather than in a church building or at a coffee shop does not mean this requirement vanishes. In 2019, Sean McDowell and J. Warner Wallace released the book So the Next Generation Will Know. In an article on McDowell's blog, he noted that one important insight regarding Gen Z has to do with how they view the world. No, not their worldview, like how they view geographic locations in the world. He says, quote, "Formerly distinct lines are now considered blurry. Technology has blurred the lines between home and work, study and entertainment, and public and private." See, what McDowell says sounds similar to the idea of church as the third place. Church was once considered the third place, not in terms of importance, but in terms of actual physical places people spend their time. Home was, well, home. Work was where you made money or built a career. And the church was where you grew spiritually, received answers to the biggest questions of life, and engaged in regular social interaction. But for Gen Z, all of those things can be accomplished in a new and immaterial third place, the internet.
Now, this part I actually found kind of interesting, where he talks about how we've kind of shifted from the three places, I guess is how he puts it, home, work, and church, to now the third place. He says that church used to be that third place that people would go to get answers to big questions, has shifted with the current generation to the internet. And I think it's true. Like, there's no denying that the internet is a really good place to get information. I think learning how to learn is probably one of the most important skills to get in this day and age, because you need to figure out how to vet sources and where your information is coming from, and what can be trusted, what can be thrown out, what has actual good backing to it. But I do see where he's going with this, that maybe for younger generations, they don't necessarily see things so cut and dry with, oh, work is where you go to get money, home is where you spend time with your family, and then church is where you go on Sundays to get your spiritual fulfillment. I mean, some younger or Gen Z people might still see it that way, but a lot of social interaction is now moving online, and you can get so much information, and pretty much all of human intellect is there. You can access anything, and knowing how to navigate that and how to use that tool, I think, can be super important. But also, being careful where you go and where you're getting your information from is also an important tool to have.
This means the internet is no longer a mere collection of message boards for taking snarky potshots across the bow. It is viewed by this generation as a meaningful source of information, social engagement, and expression. In brief, whatever you think about internet worldview discussions, they need to be taken with the appropriate level of seriousness. Now, here's what I'm not saying. I'm not saying there's never a time for straightforward and strongly worded rebuke, rebuttal, or response. I'm not saying we should water down the message. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with a clever comeback that might even have some teeth to it. To live the defense of the faith is to interact with integrity, honesty, humility, and respect.
On these points, the integrity, honesty, humility, and respect, I feel like I'm probably starting to sound like a broken record. I think those are super fundamental, having these kinds of deep conversations and understanding why people are leaving. He kind of frames this with, you want to treat people with these qualities of integrity, honesty, humility, and respect because the person you're talking to or arguing with is made in the image of God. My take on it would be a little bit different, obviously, because I would say it's just basic humanity. The other person is a human. They have thoughts and feelings and emotions like you do. And just like you might find it frustrating for them to misrepresent or misunderstand the point that you're trying to make, it would be frustrating coming the other way. Or if you, not necessarily even intentionally, but if you misunderstand or misrepresent their points or what they're trying to say, that's going to stall a conversation and make it less productive. So clarifying questions, asking if you understand what they're saying correctly. If you can repeat back to them what you think they're saying and have them agree, that's a good indication that you're on the right track and can continue the discussion in a productive manner. If you repeat it back and they say, no, that's not it, and they clarify something, modify your view of what they said and move forward with the correct understanding of what they're saying. So you're not, again, talking past each other.
The person with whom you're engaging is made in God's image, and He loves them. What about you? Are you functioning like an impersonal apologetics robot, an angry keyboard roaster, or a representative of a benevolent king who loves the people you're chatting with? It might go a long way if you locate someone you may have wronged and make it right. You can help out by sharing this video along with the hashtag #LiveTheDefense wherever it's appropriate. Some Christians have interacted badly with unbelievers, and though this doesn't speak to the truth of Christianity, we aren't just trying to win arguments, we're trying to win souls. This is a warning not to be loveless, noisy gongs or clanging cymbals. This is a call to be slow to anger. And when others do not reciprocate, bless those who curse you, pray for those who mistreat you. This is not a call to stop providing arguments and evidence. It's a cry for Christians to live the defense.
So I think just in conclusion, I'm behind the sentiment of this hashtag that he's putting out and this message that he's putting out about live the defense, practice what you preach. I don't know that I would necessarily go with that specific hashtag because I'm not defending the Christian faith, but I would say maybe believe for better reasons. Understand the reasons. Try to understand the reasons for why you believe what you believe. If you examine them and you don't find that you have good reasons, try and find better reasons. And if you can't find good reasons to believe what you believe, be willing and open to modify what you believe if you find good reasons to change those beliefs. Follow the evidence, follow the conversation, have better conversations, try and understand the best you can where other people are coming from. And again, steel man, not straw man. You have the most charitable interpretation of what the other person is saying. Assume the best intention from them unless given strong reasons not to. But again, I'm on board with this, and like I said at the beginning, I think I really do probably agree with Trinity Radio's sentiment behind this video. But thanks for watching. Do all the cool YouTube-y stuff. Click something, a bell or button, whatever the cool new hip thing is. Comment some stuff about whatever you want. Like and subscribe, or yeah, YouTube stuff. Do the YouTube stuff because algorithm likes YouTube stuff and clicking things. Thanks again for watching. We'll catch you in the next one.